Good morning. Today, we're talking about how it is possible to do drum corps, indoor drumline, school, work, sports, and have somewhat of a social life. I mean, I did it, thousands of other people have done it, and I'm gonna share some tips and tricks on how you can maybe do it. Okay, so the general subject here is time management. You need to be freaking amazing at managing your time if you're trying to do all this stuff. And I totally sucked at it at first. Okay, so before high school started, I didn't have to manage my time whatsoever. Like, my parents did it for me. Like, I knew that in the summer we had swimming, in the fall we had soccer, in the winter it was basketball, and then in the spring it was baseball. And our township rec league worked that all out, so none of that crap would conflict. I would just go to whatever my parents told me to go to. But high school sports and band conflicted constantly, and it was super annoying, and I sucked at letting my band directors and coaches know when there was a conflict. I remember the very first conflict I had, it was before we even started high school. It was in the summer going into my freshman year. I wanted to do soccer because I was good at that, and I wanted to do marching band because I was amazing at that. However, the soccer tryout was the same day that we went away to band camp. Like, our school actually went to a camp in Pennsylvania. It was Camp Saginaw, also known as Camp Saggy Balls. So I remember my dad actually went and talked with the soccer coach and tried to figure out a way I could do this. He ended up saying yeah, there's probably gonna be even more conflicts during the fall. You should pick one or the other. And I picked band. Good choice. Okay, so then after band ended, I wanted to do swim team because I was also really good at that too. And there were a few other people in the marching band that were also on the swim team, so I was like, okay, I guess I can do this. This is possible. And it worked out for a while until jazz band started. I was such a gung-ho, really eager, excited freshman, and I wanted to do all the bands, every band, and every sport. So I tried out for jazz band, and I got in on the drum set. Now, the swimming season was already well underway by the time the jazz band rehearsals were starting, so we were in the swim meets, the actual competitions. So it was the second or third jazz band practice. It was right after school, and I know I also had a swim meet that day. I knew I had both these things in the same day. That morning, I packed, all my swimming gear in my bag, and also my jazz band folder. It didn't occur to me until, an hour before school ended, oh crap, both of these things are supposed to be at the same time, and I can't go to both. So I was like, okay, what's more important? I have a swim meet, a competition. And I was actually really useful, even my freshman year on the swim team. I swam in the individual backstroke and a bunch of relays, and I was also on the diving team. Yeah, that's right, I did both swimming and diving. And while all the kids in the swim team or the dive team wore the hoodie that says, oh, Washington Township Swimming and Diving, I was the only kid that was actually on both the swimming and the diving team. Yeah, everyone else, you're taking all the credit but doing half the work. Mid-editing commentary here. Oh man, look at that face. Look how serious I am. So in the spirit of the Summer Olympics, which are coming up this year, if this video gets 5,000 likes, I will go to a pool and attempt to do all of the dives that I did in high school. I haven't done that in a really long time, and it probably won't go well. But I'll do it for the YouTube fame, so make sure you click that like button. Okay, but anyway, so I had this conflict, and I decided to go to swimming because it was a meet, and jazz band was just a practice. I went to the band director's office, and I was really freaking socially awkward at this point. I'm still pretty socially awkward, but 14-year-old me was really, really awkward. So I walked into the band director's office, and I said exactly like this. I remember, I said, hey, I can't be at jazz band. Are you gonna be mad at me? The band director was just you have to be at jazz band. You're the drum set player. We don't have another one. And I was like, but I have a swim meet. I gotta go to that. The band director was just no, you're gonna be at jazz band. We need you at jazz band. So I was just oh. Okay then. And I left. That was the end of that. And I didn't show up to jazz band. I just went to the swim meet because I knew that was more important. And looking back on it, that was definitely the right decision to go to the swim meet. It wasn't the right decision to communicate super poorly about it, but it was definitely the best idea to go to the meet instead of the practice. I ended up getting in a whole lot of trouble for not going to jazz band. So that was considered a class. Even though it was after school activity, it was still a class. And I actually got written up for cutting a class. And the punishment in my school for cutting class was 3 days of detention. Yeah, I had to go to detention 3 times because I had this conflict, and communicated really poorly about it. So at that point I realized, okay, I need to like get my crap together and freaking figure out if there's any more conflicts in the schedule. So I did, and there was like 3, and I told the band director, and he was like pretty mad about that, but I mean, there was nothing they could really do. Like I had to go to swimming, I made that commitment. So the next year I decided, all right, I'm not gonna do jazz band again. That was a whole fiasco, and I kind of liked swimming better, so I'm just gonna stick with that. But the conflicts did not end at all. Like sophomore year, and especially my junior year. So I was getting really good at both band and swimming. And I believe it was my junior year where I made all 4 of the possible honors bands. I made the Olympic Conference Honors Band, the All-South Jersey Honors Band, the All-State Honors Band, and the All-Eastern Honors Band. And in swimming, I qualified for the regional meet and the state meets. Yep, individual backstroke, 100 yards, 1 minute and 53 seconds. What's up? And of course, the All-State Band concert and the state qualifying swim meet were on the same exact day. And I was needed at both of them. Like, I qualified for individual swimming, but I was also swimming in a relay. Like, our coach picked the 4 best swimmers to swim in the medley relay, and I was the backstroker for that. However, I decided to do all-state band instead of swimming, and my reasoning for that was because I was, like, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life and go to college. I knew I wanted to major in music, so I figured all-state band would look better on the resume than all-state swimming. I told my swim coach, and he was really, really mad. So then my senior year, I was still doing all that crap and auditioning for schools. So I was like, all right, I'm just not going to do swimming anymore. So I didn't do swimming my senior year. I cut that out. Once again, the coach was pretty pissed off because I was like one of the best ones on the team, and they really needed me. Yeah, being a multi-talented individual really sucks a lot. So don't be super talented. I'm just kidding. Well, all right, what you can do, like, as an instructor, all right, like, I learned from my high school experience, so when I started teaching high school band, I made sure, like, to find out, like, who also did, like, other things, like, outside of band. Like, there's a lot of kids that only did band, but there were some kids that were really good at sports, too. So I made sure that, you know, we sat down together, went through both schedules, figured out, like, okay, you got these conflicts, like, what are we gonna do about it? And actually worked with them. Like, I didn't really have, like, a teacher, like, help me figure out my schedule. I just felt like I was all on my own. Honestly, if I, like, asked a teacher to help, they probably would have, but like I said, I was really, really awkward and didn't want to approach anybody. Okay, so that's just high school we're talking about. We didn't even start drum corps or going to music school yet. This is where the stuff hit the fan here, folks. So I had it all planned out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was gonna graduate music school in 4 years, and every single summer, 4 years in a row, I was gonna march drum corps in the summer. Then for 4 years in a row, I was also gonna march WGI. So that first summer, going into my freshman year, I marched the Bushwhackers, DCA Corps, and that was all on weekends. And I think the tuition was like $700 or something like that at the time, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a job on the weekdays, which that's good in theory. However, when I applied for all these jobs, the ones that were open, every single one of them wanted me to come in on the weekend to do the training and start working on weekends for like a couple of months. I couldn't do that because DCA is all weekends, every single one of them. So how did I pay for the Bushwhackers that year? I made my dad pay for it. Thanks, Dad. Okay, so that ended and I started going to school and I knew I wanted to march United. The auditions were in like September for United and I ended up getting a spot and the tuition was like $1,500, something in that neighborhood. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a job now. Like I have weekends free for like the next 2 months. So I remember I went like everywhere around town to like probably like 50 different establishments and like nobody had a job open except for at my school, Rowan University. Go Profs! That's right, our mascot was like a professor that was also an owl. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I got a job working in the Rowan Future Fund program, which is basically you're a glorified telemarketer. So I worked this job for about an hour. I quit that so fast. All right, I'm like pretty socially awkward in person, but on the phone, you don't want to hear me talk to strangers on the phone. That is very uncomfortable. So I had no job once again, and I marched all United and made my dad pay for it. Thanks, Dad. So now, looking back on that whole situation, I did have an actual job when I was in high school. I worked at this Einstein Bagels for like 2 years. And then I ended up quitting that my senior year because I wanted to focus more on music auditions. I should have not quit. I should have just sucked it up and did the job, because then I would have had that job most likely for the remainder of the time that I was in college and didn't have a job to pay for drum corps. So my advice to you is, if you're in high school right now and you're thinking about marching drum corps in like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, get a job now. Do all the training on the weekends, work like weekends for a bunch of months, and then you'll have the seniority to say, hey, I can't work weekends anymore. Schedule me on the weekdays. Or you can just become a YouTuber like I am and pay for it that way. Or just mooch off your parents. So that's what I did for 4 years in a row. I marched every single season of drum corps, and I marched every single season of WGI, and made my dad pay thousands of dollars for it. Thanks, Dad. And now that I'm thinking back on it, I remember my dad actually got me this job interview for like the local municipal building, and it was gonna be for like that gigantic like suck up truck like that picks up all the leaves. Like I would be operating that. That would have been very interesting. However, this job, I think it was like Monday through Thursday, and it was like 7 a.m. to like 2 p.m. and I had classes every single one of those days, so I didn't get that job. So for all of you watching that are looking for like solutions to doing school and WGI and DCI and work and life, I hope this isn't like devastating to you, but it's really, 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 really difficult. Like I struggled really hard with it, and this is just from the financial side. Like we didn't even get to the conflicts of doing that yet. So my advice to you is like try your best to plan out having a job before that. Maybe save up a bunch of money in high school, or just take a year off of all those activities so that you aren't struggling to get through it for the next bunch of years. So I talked a lot about how much I sucked at dealing with scheduling conflicts in high school. I got a lot better at that in college. However, stuff didn't ever work out. It like never did. It was always some weird conflict every single year. So there was one year where United Percussion, we were going to the Dayton Regional. And this was the same day as our percussion ensemble dress rehearsal. So my percussion professor was super anal about dress rehearsals. Like his policy was, if you miss a dress rehearsal, you're not performing in the concert. And if you're not performing in the concert, you fail the class. So this regional, we performed on Saturday. That was prelims, and then Sunday morning was finals. Now this dress rehearsal for school was at like 6 o'clock at night. I was gonna fork out the money to buy a plane ticket and then get back just in time to get to this rehearsal. It was a tight time crunch, but it was theoretically possible if everything went right. So I told the professor about this issue. I liked this professor a lot, but he, like I said, he was very anal about this, and he was like, yeah, you need to be at this dress rehearsal. Like he appreciated the solution that I came up with for this problem, but it was pretty much still, like, if I didn't make the rehearsal, like, I was gonna fail the class. But luckily, everything went smoothly, like, the flight was on time. I got there with, like, an hour to spare. It worked out that time. I did have to pay, like, $250 for that freaking flight. Whereas if I just went on the bus with the unit back, it would have been free, but I wouldn't have got there till, like, midnight and missed the rehearsal. Okay, so that's one that actually worked out. Here was one that did not. This was like November. Our teacher announced that in April, there was gonna be like this huge collaborative concert with guest artists at our school, and it was gonna be on a Saturday. And when he told us that date, I knew this. That was the same freaking day as WGI World Championships. Of course, of all the days that it could have been, it was the same one as the one day where I absolutely 100% could not be there. So I was like, okay, I need to come up with a solution to get credit for percussion ensemble class when I won't be at this one concert. So I thought about it for a while, and I thought the best thing to do would be to tell the professor that I won't be at this concert. However, I will write a piece for the concert. And not only that, I will lead and instruct the students performing my piece in the percussion ensemble rehearsal. So I would be at every single percussion ensemble rehearsal doing work. I just wouldn't be at the concert performing. So I went there, presented the idea, and once again, he respected very much that I like thought about all this like way in advance. So he thought about it for like a week, and he ended up coming up with a different idea that would also work. He wanted me to write that piece, but not to do it at the percussion ensemble concert, to do it on my recital, and he wanted me to perform in my own piece. But he wanted me to instruct another piece that he was going to give out to some underclassmen. So I would go teach them this piece, and I would get credit for percussion ensemble for doing that. So of course I agreed, and we did that. It went fine. I missed out on like the freaking best percussion ensemble concert that the school had. So as you can see from these stories I'm telling compared to the high school stories I'm telling, this worked worked out a lot better because I realized all these conflicts way in advance, and I was able to come up with some solutions. Okay, so I aged out of drum corps, I graduated from college, and then I went to get my master's degree at University of Delaware. Go Blue Hens! Yeah, mascot, that kind of makes sense. But the conflicts did not end there, because I was still teaching high school band at the same time I was going to college. And I was the grad assistant instructor for the marching band, so a lot of the stuff the marching band did completely conflicted with the marching band I was teaching. And now, even now, I still have conflicts out the wazoo. So I'm in the Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps, and I also taught the Baltimore Ravens marching band this year, and this crap conflicted constantly. Like, I had to miss so many Ravens games, and those guys were really nice and understanding. You know, I'm in the Marine Corps after all. So basically, the whole point of this video is to tell you, if you have conflict, you need to figure that crap out immediately, and then, if possible, come up with a solution to get around the conflict. And if that's not possible, then you have to pick one or the other. Then you have to pick which one is more important and which one will more benefit you in the future. And also, it might be a good idea to plan out all the stuff you want to do years in advance so that you can financially support yourself through all of that. It's a lot of stuff to consider, but it is possible to do DCI, WGI, school, work, and sports all at the same time. So thanks for watching. I hope this video was informative and helpful. If you think it was, please click that subscribe button and ring that Liberty Bell and click that like button. Shout out to my new squeaky cock, Steve Bishop. Thank you so much for your support. And also consider buying a custom t-shirt, such as this one. I will leave that link in the description. And have a good morning.